Hello everyone, I am Dr. Sayani Bandyopadhyay, Assistant Professor of Biology, SVLST. Today we will discuss about the biology of cancer, which we all know what cancer is. So these topic is actually for the Biology for Engineers course in the AAA department, the third semester students. So the paper code is BSH 301. So we all heard about the different types of cancer. Nowadays cancer actually spreading in the worldwide, and there are so many patients already nowadays affected by the cancers. But also for the survival from the cancers, we have to understand what cancer is. The basic knowledge is necessary for all of us. So what is cancer? The term comes from the cancrum, from the Latin word which means the crab. So any abnormalities in the cells means the abnormal growth of the cells. There is a cell cycles by which from one cell new cells are produced. But if in the cell division process, or in the cell cycle process, any problems occurs which disrupt the cell cycle or cell division, then abnormal cell growth happens, which causes cancer or malignancy. There are two types of tumors. One is benign tumors. Tumor means uncontrolled growth. So there are two types. One is benign tumors which are not cancerous. Another one is a malignant tumors. So the differences between benign and malignant. Benign tumors are easily curable by any surgeries, but malignant tumor or cancerous tumor is actually complicated. So we will discuss about that. So it leads to the abnormal growth or enlargement of the tissues. How does cancer develop? So you can see this is a transformation. These cells and tumor evolution and progression, and it is a metastasis. Metastasis, if such cells originated from a part and these abnormal cells spread into another part, then it is called as metastasis. You know, there is a chances of a cancer patients to develop another cancer after some years. So this actually happens due to the metastasis, which actually only occurs in the cancers, not in the benign tumor. So uncontrolled cell growth, I already talked about. The uncontrolled cell growth is a reason for cancer cell development. Another one is a genetic mutation. We all know that genetic bases in the DNA are called adenine, guanine, thymine and cytosine. Or in RNA it's uracil other than the thymine. But if any of the bases change, then it causes mutation. It can be deletion, it can be insertion or duplication. It was A previously, then it converted into T or G. If the changes happen in the DNA, then the changes will carry forward in the RNA, and from RNA the end product or protein product will be also changed. So these changes also lead to the cancer development and diverse form. So cancer can develop in various parts of the body, exhibiting in different their characteristics as well as behaviors. So that this is a data of 2022 by the American Cancer Society. So the most common types of cancers in US, you can see that 30.8% is a breast cancer. In women nowadays, the breast cancer actually more occurring compared to the others. And in male also there is a lung cancer which also affects mainly the men, but also it can happen for the females. And prostate cancer is also, there is 7.3% prostate cancer. So this is individually for the female and for the male. The hallmarks of cancer, just like if you can purchase a gold jewelry, then there is a hallmark. So for any kinds of gold jewelry from a store, there is a particular hallmark for a particular gold. So we can identify from that. So these are the hallmarks of cancers which are specific for the identification of cancers. The etiology of cancer means multifactorial in origin. There is physical, chemical, biological, through viruses. Viruses can also spread because it contain either DNA or RNA. It attacks the human and enter their genetic material. And also there are some hormonal changes, the genetic changes, mutation, or the environmental factors like physical or chemical. Nowadays the pollution increases, and we already take so much pesticides and or herbicides by our food. So for that there are so many chances for developing the cancers. And also another important is UV ray, which causes also cancers. So we have to protect our skin from the UV rays. The genetic mutations and cancer. So mutations happens genetic in the DNA basis. So there are different types of genes which actually protects the cells from having cancers. But if these cells are mutated, then it causes cancer. Like the proto-oncogenes, onco comes from the cancer. So these genes actually normally promote the cell growth. But if these genes are mutated, then cell growth will be disrupted and it causes cancer. Tumor suppressor genes. These particular genes actually suppress or inhibit the growth of the tumor. But if they are mutated, then it causes cancer. The DNA repair genes. If any damage normally happens in our DNA, then it can be repaired. But if these genes are actually mutated, the mutated form of these DNA repair genes causes cancer. Another one is the epigenetic changes, which is the alteration of the expression of the gene pattern, which can influence the cancer, also the cancer development without changing the underlying DNA sequences. So that DNA sequence cannot be changed, but it causes cancers. So this is benign tumor and this is malignant tumor. So you can see these are the uncontrolled growth, or these are the uncontrolled growth of tumor cells. But the cells are not cancerous because it is not spread. It cannot be spread. So it can't transform from one organ to another organ by blood vessels. But cancer cells actually can spread to other tissue or organs. This process is known as metastasia. So you can see that. This is the metastasia. So tumor microenvironment. How tumor spreads? It comes from blood vessels. Tumor really on blood vessels because it needs oxygen and the foods, the nutrients, and to remove the waste products. And immune cells, there are cells which protects us from the external pathogenic attacks, but tumors can sometimes evade or suppress the immune response. So we can't protect ourselves from the external pathogenic attack. Fibroblasts, these cells can help to build the extracellular matrix which surrounds the tumor, including the structure and support, and cancer cells which interact with the microenvironment, influencing its composition and behavior. Angiogenesis means production of new blood vessels. So cancer cells releases growth factors that stimulate the formation of the new blood vessels, and the new blood vessels sprout from the existing one, supplying the tumor with oxygen, nutrient and other pathway for the metastasis. And then angiogenesis fuels tumor growth and allows the cancer cell to invade the surrounding tissues and spread to other part of the body. So these are the steps of metastasis. At first, you can see the first step is, you can see that is the inversion. So inversion means cancer cells break through to the basement of the membrane and in the surrounding tissues. So in inversion and migration, it can migrate also. Then step 2 is intravasation, means cancer cells enter to the bloodstream or lymphatic system. So this is the bloodstream, it enters to the bloodstream from there. So this is the organ, this is primary tumor site. First tumor happens there. Then in the second, the inversion and migration, step 2 is the intravasation. It actually comes in the bloodstream and then circulation. So through the bloodstream, it can circulate it. So it comes here and then extravasation, means cancer cell exit the bloodstream and the lymphatic tissues and invade into a new tissue. So this was the old tissue, they spread from the bloodstream and then exit the bloodstream and comes to a new tissue. And the final stage is colonization, means a new tumor formation at a different sites, forming the metastasis. So first here tumors were found, and then after colonization here the tumors were formed. So cancer diagnostic and staging. For diagnosis or for identification of the cancer, we have to understand in what of the growth process cancer cells actually. So this is called as staging. And for treatment, the course of action taken to cure, it can be surgical or it can be any chemo or radiation therapy or gene therapy for precision, and monitoring how after the cancer treatment how the patients actually respond, because person to person the responses will be different. So these are the stages of cancer. Zero stage, actually stage 0 where the cancer cells found in their earliest form. So this is actually it is a curable stage. Stage 1 is a small tumor which is an uncontrolled growth that has not spread yet. Means it forms but it doesn't spread. Stage 2, the cancer cell can grow more and deeply and nearby tissue. Means it doesn't spread but it grows more. And stage 3, cancer that has spread to the lymph nodes. Means it is not yet not spreaded but it comes to the lymph node or tissue. And stage 4, actually it spreads to another tissue part of the body, so it forms the metastasis. So up to stage 0 to stage 3, metastasis doesn't occur, so these stages are curable. But unfortunately, most of the cancers actually diagnosed as at the later stages or stage 3 or stage 4. So it is called the T and M staging of cancer. T for tumor means tumor growth, you can see that. N for nodes, distant nodes cancer cells transforms, and M for metastasis. Current treatments of cancers. The mostly in India, actually first if possible, the main actually surgical replacement is carried out, the surgery. Then for suppose someone has breast cancer, then the part actually the cancer tumor parts actually removed by the process called surgery. Then if the cancer cells also become actually spread there or also present there, so chemotherapy or radiation therapy can be used. Means using a chemical drug or radiation to destroy the cancer cells. Also hormone therapy are used for hormone replacement in some cancers. Immunotherapy, if the immune cells are disrupted, then immunotherapy is carried out. Target therapy or bone marrow transplant for blood cancer, bone marrow transplant is utilized. Another point which is actually currently, though it is not actually used in India, but outside India, it is called gene therapy. Means if a patient suspects that the gene particularly is mutated, which will further produce cancer, then the gene can be replaced or can be knocked down, so inactivated. So the cancerous gene can be knocked down. So the further they can't spread that. There is a problem of radiation therapy or chemotherapy. Actually, it can also destroy the good healthy cells. But the gene therapy is actually only targets the cancerous cells. So this is a very new techniques for actually recovering from the cancer. Thank you so much for listening.